Siman Tov Tes Zayin. Siman Tov Tes Zayin. We're heading. This is the last Siman in Hilchos Eruvin. Finishing off Hilchos Eruvin Techumim, and then we move on to Hilchos Rosh Chodesh. So this is it, the light at the end of the tunnel. Says the Mechaber. Yontov Shechol Yos Samach LeShabbos. You're dealing with a Yontov which falls close to Shabbos. Beim Mifla Beim Macharas. A Yontov falls on a Friday or a Sunday. Shnei Yom Tovim Shel Golius. Or it's 2 days, Thursday, Friday, or Sunday, Monday. Yesh le'arv shnei Eruv and shnei ruchos. If a person wanted to, he can make two Eruvei Techumim in different directions. For soimech alei zemen sheyeres, and he can decide which one he wants to use liyom rishon on the first day. V'al erev sheberuach hashniya liyom hasheni. So he can choose, one for one day and one for another day. Oy ma'arev Eruv echad leruach achas. V'soimech alav le'echad mishnei yom. Or he can choose to make an Eruv Techumim for both days, and on for both days, and on the first day he can go according to his Eruv, and on the second day he can go according to the Bnei Ho'er. So he's got flexibility, right? In other words, he can either choose to do one direction one day, one direction another day, or one direction one day, and then like his residence of his town on the second day. And he has 2,000 damas in each in any direction. Okay, says let's do the Mishnah Berurah there. Yontov Samach LeShabbos. The Yontov and Shabbos v'chein shnei Yom Tovim Shel Golius shtei kedushas. And that's the whole point. They're considered two separate kedushas. We'll contrast it to Rosh Hashanah later. V'lochein ein Eruv Yom Echad shaykh lechaverei. So what I do on day one is not relevant to day two, and therefore I've got flexibility to do different Eruvin on each of the days.
So you can do from one day Yontov to another day Yontov as well?
Yeah.
So you can do 3 days.
If it's Thursday, Friday, right, yeah. V'yesh le'arev pirush yochel le'arev shnei eruvim b'pam achas, and you can set it up in one go. L'shtei ruchos u'mechaven, says Mishnah Berurah Gimel, u'mechaven she'erev she'yira b'layla hazeh yilelech misham ha'payim yikne le'shvisa ben hashmosha shel yom zeh l'tzorech mocha. My intention is that this will will kick in on ben hashmosha's full tomorrow. V'erev she'betzad hasheni yikne le'shvisa ben hashmosha l'mocha l'tzorech yom hasheni, and then likewise for the second day. Al eizem mehem she'yirtzeh. Because we say he can decide later on. He doesn't have to decide now, because we say breira, that he can make a retroactive decision. For huvra hadav lemafresh mokam hazeh konol shvisa hayom bein hashmoshes uchadel el b'sim tofit gimel. Ach mikiven shebir sad echad yom rishon. But once he decides that, shuv ein rishai leilech b'is hayom l'tzad hasheni. But he's got to be bound by it. But once he's decided to be, to go that way, he can't sort of head off in the other direction because he's bound by that. Le'echod mishnei yom sifkoten hey hainu le'ezem mehem sheyitza. I can choose one of the 2 days to go according to my Eruv, and the other day I'm going to be bound by my normal Eruv Techum, or my Techum. Umari gamkein shemechavim anachos she'erev yikne lo bebein hashmoshes shel ezem mishnei yom tzorech yom machar sheloi v'yom ha'echod yeh k'bnei irei. So you've got this flexibility when it comes to Yontov juxtaposed to Shabbos, or 2 days Yontov. Okay, weiter in the Mechaber. Where are we? 4 lines down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down. Now, B'amed v'amamurim, when is the above true? B'shnei Yom Tovim Shel Golius, regularly Yontov. Avol b'shnei Yom Tovim Shel Rosh Hashanah, but on 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, harihein k'yom echad, that is treated like one day. But when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, it's like one long day, and therefore you can only do in one direction. You can only do one Erev Techumim for the whole 2-day Rosh Hashanah. It says in the Mishnah Berurah, Sifkot Vav, K'yom echad, the K'yom echad Orach chashvinale. We look at Rosh Hashanah as one long day. Of Yom echad ein yochel la'arev chetzi lekan v'chetzi lekan. Like we said before, you can't split one day in half. The Ruach Echos, says Mishnah Berurah Sivkot Zayin, V'uadin de'in yocholema yikneli eruvi kan hayom u'lemocha eheyek b'nei iri. And so too on the second half of this, what we said just previously, that possibility of one day following his own personal Erev Techumim, and the second day following the Techum of his city, that is not an option on a 2-day Rosh Hashanah. He's got to just stick to one Techum on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, finishing off the Ramah on this, the Mechaber on Sif Aleph. 3 lines from the end. V'chein masne odom al eruvay, and a guy can make a t'nai also on his eruv. V'omer eruv l'shabbos zu Avalel Shabbos Acheres, I can make an Eruv. This Eruv is for this Shabbos and not for any future Shabboses. Or the Shabbos Acheres, Avalel Shabbos Zu, always for next Shabbos, not this Shabbos. So you can put the food there in the designated place, and you can stipulate any of these things. Or the Shabboses for Yom Tovim, Yom Tovim the Shabboses. So it's all according to whatever he stipulates. Sivkot and Ches, V'chein, Areisha Inyan Koi. This is going back on the beginning. Kamei Sham, Sheyochel Aniach Erev Echad Be'erev Yontov, V'Sheyochel of Levadoi Orach, Ala Shabbos She'ach Yontov. He can make that tonight that it's going to be Chal on here for him, or it's going to be Chal on for the Shabbos after Yontov. Well, so too he can make all of these tonight. Sivkot and Tes, Le Shabbos Acheres, V'hu Sheyeh Eruv Chaim Ba'is Shabbos Bein Hashmoshes. So I can say that this is going to be an Eruv Techumim for next Shabbos, but so long as the food he puts away is going to be in existence the next Bein Hashmoshes. And when he puts it for many Shabboses, Tzorich Lashkiach Tomid, he's got to just check Shema Nis Apesh that maybe it became moldy or it became wormy, to zehu davamotza, which is a very common occurrence if you're leaving food, pre-refrigeration days or wherever it is, especially in the summer, in the hot summer, or if it's totally lost, you've got to just be aware of that. So the point is that the food has got to be existing at Bein Hashmoshes. Okay. Sif base. So someone does this. He makes an Eruv for 2 days of Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz, the Shabbos for Yom Tov, or he does it for Shabbos followed by Yom Tov. Afal pishu erev echad l'ruach achas l'shnei yomim. Even though it's one Eruv in one direction for 2 days, tzorich sheyeh ha'eruvim koyim matzu b'leil rishon u'v'leil sheni kol ben hashmoshes. He makes an Eruv Techumim, and he does it, let's say, 2,000 amas to the west of the city or something, and he wants to do it for a 2-day Yom Tov or something. He's got to make sure that it's in existence at the Bein Hashmoshes of both days. How does he do it? Be'erev Yom Tov. He takes the food there on Erev Yom Tov, Be'erev Shabbos, and he waits there for Shabbos to come in. Then and then he takes it away with him, because the Eruv Techumim has now been affected, it's been triggered, and he can take the food home with him and eat it. Or Boloi, if it was Yom Tov night, when he can carry, he can do that. And then the following day, he can actually take the food with him and put it put it in wherever it needs to be at Shetechshach, and it will leave it there until Bein Hashmoshes of the second night. And he can sit there and eat it. On Yom Tov, when he can carry, he can bring it home with him and eat it there. Because the Yom Tov, of course, is Shtei Kedushas. And it's not one day. Because it's 2 separate days, and therefore, like we said before, the Eruv, the food is set aside. The Eruv Techumim has got to be in existence at Bein Hashmoshes, and that is how he would do it on a 2-day Yom Tov, or a Yom Tov next to a Shabbos. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Berurah till there. It's up from the Sif Kot and Yud. So the beginning of Sif base. Hama'arev l'shnei Yom Tovim Rotzolema Shapirish behedya sheyuchel ha'erev al shnei hayomim. So he says this Eruv Techumim is gonna work for the next 2 days, for the 2 days of Yom Tov, or Shabbos for Yom Tov, or let's say it's Friday afternoon, and he's doing it for Shabbos, and Yom Tov is on a Sunday. Shel Golias la'afuke shnei Yom Tovim shel Rosh Hashanah, like we described before. Because afim nechal eruv b'yom rishon yochel leilech gam b'sheni, because in a way it's a kula. On Rosh Hashanah, once you've set it up on the first night, it's like Yom HaRichter, and therefore it's going to apply for both days. Shetek of bein hashmoshes rishon nikne lo ha'erev l'shnei hayomim, because once it's kicked in for both days. The kedusha achasein mashein came b'shel golius lo nisken hasheni rak mishum sofek diyoma. Good. And so too, if he does it personally, i.e., he's physically there, so if he does it physically by being at the place of his tchum, over the center of his tchum, on Bein Hashmoshes as Rosh Hashanah is coming in, that would work, and it would work for both days of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, Yud Beis, Afal Pishu Erev Echad, Rotzolema. Mikol Makom Lo Amrin and Dedai Sheyeh Erev Chaim B'Yom Rishon Levad, Kivin D'Shtei Kedushas Hein. So the contrast is when you've got Yom Tov, where there's 2 Kedushas, it's got to be in existence at Bein Hashmoshes of both nights. Keitzatu so Yud Gimel. Rotzolema imhu mokum she'ena mishtama. It's a place which is not protected. She'choshe she'meyova b'yom rishon. We're worried that the food is going to be lost, during day one. Lekach melichi sham. That's why he waits there during the whole of Ben Hashmoshes, and then Yontov is allowed to carry. He can take the food back with him. Or he appoints a shliach. V'yeshiv sham ad shechoshcha. He waits there throughout Ben Hashmoshes until it gets dark. And then he takes it home. And then the next day he takes it back there to put it there again to make it effective for day 2. Im hoyelel yontov. Over Shabbos, however, also l'se'enu lebesa. He can't carry it. Yihye muchrach leilech lemocha kodem ben hashmoshes l'sham lirois im ha'erev Chaim. But to make sure that it works for the second day, which is if the first day was a Shabbos where he can't carry back, he's got to go back and check that it's still there. Once he's there, the whole of Ben Hashmoshes, then it works, it's been effective, and therefore you can sit and have his Suda in that place. Okay, back to the Mechaba. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. Nechol ha'eruv b'rishon. Now, if the Eruv was eaten on day 1, kon ha'eruv l'rishon ve'ein ha'eruv l'sheni. It's going to be effective for day 1, but it's not going to be effective for day 2 because you haven't got Mozen Shtei Sudas at Ben Hashmoshes of day 2. Eruv b'raglav b'rishon. If he made the Eruv physically with his feet by being there, tzarich la'arev b'raglav b'sheni. Then again, on the second day of Yontov, he's got to physically do it again at Ben Hashmoshes of day 2. For who she'elech v'yamed ba'isimokum, he's got to go there. V'yachshav sham b'libo she'yikne sham shvisa, and he's got to think that this is going to be my mokum shvisa. V'lo yomar klum, he can't say anything, can't verbalize it. Mipnei she'osel ases shum achona miyontov la Shabbos or min Shabbos liyontov afilu b'dibur. So he can't stand there and say this is going to be my eruv for tomorrow, for Ben Hashmoshes on the first day in the afternoon, because that's caught by hachona. Let's just do the Mishnah Berurah till there. Sivkot and Tezayin, Beraglov b'sheni, the Eruv Yom Rishon, she'eruv Beraglov, that which he did physically, afilim kiven sheyol l'shnei yomim, ein amoel klal yom sheni. On the 2-day Yom Tov, it's not going to work for the second day. For Kosva, it only helps you for your physical presence on Ben Hashmoshes in that place. It will help you for today. For Kosva poskim dim, loy Eruv b'rishon, loy b'pasva, loy b'Beraglov, ein yochel ar b'sheni afilu Beraglov. If you didn't do it on day 1, then he's not going to be able to do it on day 2. Because otherwise it's too much of an appearance of hachana, of being meichin, and therefore that's not going to be allowed. But he can go to that place. But he can't go to the second place to be ma'arav b'raglov. Because yesterday I wasn't able to go there. It looks like you're being meichin, you're doing hachana. And others say no, on the second day you can do it beraglov liyom sheni. So long as you don't say anything, that would be okay. If you just sit there, then it's not considered a problem of hachana. You can't say anything on day 2. Or on the afternoon of day 1 in preparation for day 2. And if you went ahead and did it, you're a naughty boy and you said it, it works, but you shouldn't have done. You can't do any hachana from Yontif Shabbos. And so too, from one day Yontif to the next, of a 2-day Yontif of Chutz La'aretz, because you can't be making from one day to the next. Okay, continues the Mechaba. For Kol Shekein, 3 lines from the bottom. For Kol Shekein, she'eni yochel arav b'pas, she'lo erev b'kvar b'yom rishon. You can't be ma'arav with food, with bread that you didn't use on day 1. Because if you made the declaration on day 1, then you can just check that it's still there for day 2. But if you didn't use it on day 1, you can't bring bread and then make a new declaration, which is what you're going to need to do. Says the Rashi, says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot and Chof, v'chol shkein she'eni yochel, v'afilu b'diavad lo mahani kasher v'pas. Even b'diavad is not going to help. Since on the first day you did it beregel, you got to use that bread. That's not going to be a good eruv. Okay, but second last line. Eruv berishin b'machal. Now you got a 2-day yontif. The first day you made an eruv techumim with food. Imrod Arv Baraglov B'Sheni Harize Eruv. If you then want on the second day to make an Eruv Baraglov, that works. V'imrod Arv B'Pas, and if you want to use bread, Tzarich La'arv Ba'isa Pas Atzma. You've got to use the bread that the Mozen Sheizudas that you originally put, She'ir Barishan, She'enet Tzarich Lemaklum, because in that situation you won't have to say anything. She'kvar Kosh Eruv, because it's already considered a proper Eruv. Imkein Eile Mechin Klum, and there's not a problem of Hachona. Says the Mishnah Berurah Chof Aleph. If you're physically there, you don't have to say anything. There's no problem of hachana. But Isa pas chof beis she'ein tzorich lemerot solema mashenkin im yikach pas acher mashenkin. If you took another loaf of bread, tzorich likros oleo shem eruv v'hu bichlal hachana, and therefore you're caught by the problems of hachana. Atzma, the bread itself. Or in the same place. You can't change the location even with the same bread to because once you've moved the bread, it's as if you're doing a new one, and therefore you can't change the location.
Even from one day on to
Yeah, because you're doing it in the afternoon of day one, and that's a demonstration of hachana for day two. I'm a prima god, she misaded lema shigama bracha ala erev lo yuchal az levarach. You can't even make a bracha ki ali deizeh minka hachana, because that would look like hachana. Okay, let's just finish off. This goes very quickly. So this is it. The last few seifim in the whole of Hilchas Eruvin. Miss Hashem. Next one is Hilchas Rosh Chodesh. Okay, here we go. Gimel zeh she'amarnu sheyesh lo la'arev shnei eruv v'shtei ruchos l'shnei yom. That which we said that you can make on 2 days Yom Tov, 2 Eruvin for 2 different directions. Day 1 you go one way, day 2 you can go another way. That's only true if it's constructed in such a way that you could access both Eruvin on day 1, right? But if you couldn't reach the place where you want to make your Eruv Techumim on day 2, if you couldn't reach that on day 1, then the second one is no good. Why? It's got to be royu mibaydyom. Now, if I can't access it on day 1, then the Eruv I've set up for day 2 will not be effective. Since I couldn't access this Eruv which I'm doing for day 2, then it's not called royu mibaydyom. So he gives an example. Ketzat. So my city is here, my house is here, and I make the Eruv 2,000 amas in that direction. And that's what I'm going to do for day 1. But then I just put my Eruv Sheni, even 1 amma, or 1,000, or 100, or 1,000 amas Barach Marv on the other direction, and say that's what's going to be for day 2, because I can't get there. Because there's not, I'm out of my boundary of, so I can't go more than anything on the Marav side, because I made my Eruv 2,000 amas that side. But if I did it not 2,000 amas, but I did it 1,500 amas there, for Somachal of the Emrishon, and on the other side I did it within 500 amas, for Somachal of the Emrishon, that's okay. Because I could reach there on day 1, and therefore that would be okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Gimel, Sif Kotan Chof Hei, Zeh Shamarnu Hainu B'Tchila Sif Aleph. You can't put the 2 Eruvin on day 1 and day 2 of Yom Tov for Ben Hashmoshes in places where I can't, more than 2,000 amas apart, where I won't be able to access it from on day 1. Even though the kinyan of the Eruv is actually effective at the beginning of day 2, the point is you've got to be able to reach it by the end of day 1. For example, your house is in the field, but if it was in the city, then we've said many times, the whole city is like Arba Amas, and you measure 2,000 amas from the outside of the wall of the city. So it's just a numbers game. You've got to be within 2,000 amas. So he said up to 1,500 that way, up to 500 that way, but whatever the permutation is, it's got to be within 2,000 amas that I can actually access it. Dalet. Yom Kippurim harihu kashabbos. Yom Kippur is treated like Shabbos, bein le'inyan erev chatzeros, bein le'inyan erev Techumim. What does that mean? It says Mishmur, the yesh by issa haitzah k'mei Shabbos. It's got the same restrictions of carrying like Shabbos. V'alkein shaykh b'kol elu advarim, and therefore I can make erev Techumim and erev chatzeros on Yom Kippur like I can on Shabbos, because it's affecting the issa haitzah, which is applicable to both. Hey, last sif, Yontov noeg by erev Techumim avalo erev chatzeros. It's shaykh erev Techumim on Yontov because the restrictions of 2,000 damas apply on Yontov, but erev chatzeros do not, because I can carry on Yontov. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Lamed Aleph, Mishum de'ein issa hitzah b'Yontov. There's no problem of carrying on Yontov. V'ayim b'simen tov kuf yudches b'achronim, demikol makom k'shem arv erev chatzeros l'Shabbos yichel gam Yontov. Nevertheless, when you make an erev chatzeros on Shabbos, you should include Yontov. Why? I can carry on Yontov. The answer is Mishum de Dvarim she'ein tzorech hayom klal. You can't always carry on Yontov. People don't always realize that. You can only carry what the tzorech Yontov, and therefore the also gam Yontov below erev. There are some things which ein tzorech hayom on Yontov, and so therefore when you make your erev chatzeros on Shabbos and you include Yontov, that is a good thing to do, because it enables you to carry things on Yontov that you wouldn't necessarily be able to carry if there were no erev. Ad kan hilchos erevin, Mr. Hashem hilchos Rosh Chodesh next. Mr. Hashem.